All right, people, I'm Dave Rubin. This is the Rubin Report, and joining me for this show that I will try to do with my scratchy voice. I will not be talking over the weekend so we can get back to Monday in normal Dave Rubin style. Joining me today is host of the Keeping It Real podcast, fitness guru, and so much more, Jillian Michaels. Jillian, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. I like that sound. It's very sexy.
It's very Demi Moore. It comes and goes. Now it's kind of okay, and then I'll lose it out of nowhere. You ready to do some heavy lifting for me? Because you may have to take over.
Got you. I got you, D. I got you.
You are in crazy California. We'll get to that in a little bit. I don't want to bang you up right before we start the show. We're just going to recap a bunch of things, mostly media related, that happened this week. And I thought this would be an interesting one to start with you, Jillian, because, I'm always conflicted about when we should cover what celebrities say and when we shouldn't, because we focus too much on them. And yet we are in this culture war. So how much attention should we pay? But I thought this one was particularly interesting because comedian Bill Burr, who's outspoken about pretty much everything, seems to be going in the reverse direction of the culture war, meaning that, let's say, our side is kind of winning the culture war, but he's going the other direction. And take a listen to this on his podcast, his thoughts about Elon, and yes, it involves Nazis.
I'll tell you what's funny. I made fun of the Twitter guy for Sieg Heiling not once but twice, and I never look at my emails. I was scrolling through my emails, and it said my Twitter account had been flagged for I don't even tweet anymore. It had been flagged for what a baby. Just like Hitler, a baby. How about the fact that the Twitter guy he's not even from here. He's from South Africa. He comes to this country and wants to turn it into a dictatorship. He doesn't feel that we deserve democracy. Can you just imagine doing that? Going to another country and just deciding, yeah, you know what? I'm going to change this form of government because I've decided. Yeah, he doesn't mind living under a dictatorship as long as he's on the good side of it. Laminated face. Because that's another thing. All of these people that are into Hitler, you know what I mean? And like look at this guy like he was some sort of hero. The guy's one of the biggest cowards ever.
Okay, so we had to bleep a couple things there, even though we're not afraid of some choice language here on the Rubin Report, but there's just a bunch there. First, let's start with this idea that because Elon was not born here, that he has to kind of sit down and shut up. If they were saying that about Mexicans or about someone from the Middle East or anywhere else, they'd be calling themselves racist, but somehow, because he's South African and white, I mean, you can see the trick they're doing. It's not even particularly bright, is it?
Yeah, no. Well, I have so many thoughts about this. It's disappointing because I find Bill Burr to be exceptionally talented, and I'm upset that we have to tackle him head on. But first of all, I would hope that he's more intelligent than to feel the need to attack someone's physical attributes. Like, that is the lowest of the low that only exceptionally ignorant people default to when engaging in an argument. So there's that element of it. But should we list all of the hypocrisies with regard to the things that he's saying? I mean, you just brought up the immigrant component, but should we go a little bit deeper? Can I jump ahead a bit in the content here?
By the way, Jillian, I have to stop you for 1 second because I think you accidentally said Bill Maher. Let's be very clear.
Bill Burr. Did I say Bill Maher? Oh my God.
You and Bill are friends. I don't want to get an angry text from Mr. Maher. Yeah.
Dear God, forgive me. Bill Burr. Yes, I did not mean Bill Maher. Bill, please forgive me. And we are, in fact, all friends with Bill, who's a tremendous guy. Thank you for the save, D. Okay. One thing that I would love to point out, if you don't mind, and I know I'm jumping ahead because I think we're going to cover this. Yeah. The kid, what is this kid's name? I had written it down. Forgive me. The kid who has been arrested.
Oh, Luigi Mangione. No. Oh, the Khalil kid. Yeah. Khalil. Yes. Khalil Muhammad. Yes.
So the Columbia University apartheid divestment, the leader of that whole thing, this kid, we're all outraged, right? That this kid doesn't get the opportunity to protest on college campuses. And I say we all, I mean, obviously, all the left, the Bill Burrs of the world. Yet this kid has
Right.
called for what's this thing called? Al-Aqsa,
Al-Aqsa
which
flood,
is
yeah.
yes, the Al-Aqsa flood, which calls for the murdering of children, the raping of women. They celebrated October 7th as heroic, but that kid is not an anti-Semite. But Elon Musk is an anti-Semite. I just find it like absolutely disgustingly hypocritical and ignorant. I'm so disappointed in Bill Burr that he doesn't look deeper than this and that his attacks are so base and foolish.
Yeah, well, we'll have more on Khalil in just a
I'm
second. The reason I mentioned Luigi Mangione, as you remember, this is the guy who murdered the CEO of United Healthcare in Midtown Manhattan, just point blank, shot him, killed him because he was apparently not happy with some of the coverage that he got for some back injuries over the years. Well, here's just one more of Bill Burr, and again, I'm only doing this. It's not to own Bill Burr. I don't really care about Bill Burr. I opened for him once at the Mohegan Sun doing stand-up back in like 99 or something like that. I don't care about Bill Burr. It's more to just this odd take on the culture war and the hysteria associated with it. So he was on the Complex podcast radio show, whatever it is, video show, and listen to this.
Yeah, they brought
it back a couple of times, and they went with cheaper leather.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because some corporate had to give himself a bonus check at the end of the year. What if we made it worse? But made it look the same?
Yeah.
Then could our pools be bigger? Free Luigi!
Okay, so you can see what he's doing there. They're talking about shoes and how maybe some of the quality's gone down, obviously, and okay, CEOs are making more money. But then to yell free Luigi, the implication is, okay, go shoot the head of Nike now? Like, it's just so weak and it's dangerous. I guess that's really why I put it up there more than anything else. Like, this stuff leads to bad things.
I couldn't agree with you more. I find it to be bizarre, though, right? Because he's saying, oh, Elon Musk is authoritarian. But then you're celebrating a guy who murdered someone in cold blood on the streets of New York. You also saw this guy's fire coverage, right? Where he talked about the fact that everybody sits at home critiquing the job of the governor and the fire chief and the mayor, and they have no idea what they're talking about. But he did zero homework into all of the incompetencies and the gross negligence that facilitated Los Angeles burning to the ground. Zero homework on it. So I would simply ask Bill Burr, all opinions are cheerfully accepted into debate, of course, but maybe do a little bit more homework so that you don't get owned on the Dave Rubin show.
Because also the implication there is that someone should go out and shoot Elon. I mean, really. So if you're saying that Elon basically is a Nazi, which is what he said right there, and then the same week you're basically saying free Mangione, well, Mangione shot someone for political purposes that he didn't like. And by the way, Bill, there are people that don't like you, but they shouldn't be allowed to shoot you. So it's like, you guys, you are playing with fire, no pun intended, in terms of what you just laid out there. Guys, let's talk about Healthy Dog for a moment and then more on the other side. If you're a dog owner, you know that keeping your pup healthy isn't always easy. Joint discomfort, bad odor, low energy, and even smelly breath, these are just a few of the common issues dogs can experience. But what really separates a healthy dog from an unhealthy one? According to Dr. Marty Goldstein, one of America's most renowned holistic veterinarians, there's one potentially harmful ingredient found in many commercial dog foods that could be affecting your dog's health. If your dog seems tired, sluggish, or just not as energetic as he used to be, this one compound might be the culprit. The shocking part, most major dog food brands contain this ingredient, and it's something that dogs consume daily. But you won't hear about it from mainstream media or big pet food companies. That's why Dr. Marty has created a free, informative video to expose exactly which foods you should stop feeding your dog immediately and what to feed them instead. He breaks it all down and explains why Nature's Blend is the smarter choice for your dog's overall health. Watch the video now at healthydog1.com/Rubin or click the link in the description. That's healthydog1.com/Rubin, all one word. Just by making this simple change, you could help support your dog's long-term health and happiness. Let's stick with celebrities. Let's stick with celebrities for just a moment, Jillian. Rosie O'Donnell. I used to be friends with Rosie. We had wings at Blondie's on the Upper West Side. She was sane. She was funny. I used to submit comments on her website. I admired her. She's lost her mind. She's left America because of Donald Trump.
Well, hey, everybody. It's me, Rosie O'Donnell, star of the Flintstones. It's Tuesday all day, as my Nana would say. And I'm here in Ireland. And it's beautiful and warm. Not physically, it's actually quite cold. Moved here on January 15th. And it's been pretty wonderful, I have to say. Although I was never someone who thought I would move to another country, that's what I decided would be the best for myself and my 12-year-old child. And here we are. Here we are.
Jillian, I got a couple things for you. First off, I do think it was kind of funny that she said, me, Rosie O'Donnell, star of the Flintstones. Like, that actually was funny. Okay, so I'll give her that much. Ireland, I didn't do the actual Googling on this, but I'm fairly certain it's a pretty white country. So she left our melting pot to go to a very white place. Racist or not?
Oh my gosh. For sure racist. I mean, since we're calling everyone racist, like, let's just jump into the mix for fun. Why not? But I got to give her some credit here, Dave, to be honest. How many times have we seen public figures say over the past decade that they're fleeing? She actually fled. She actually did it. Like, I say, good for her.
So she's putting her money where her mouth is.
Yes, right. Conviction.
Now, let me ask you something, Jillian, my good friend Jillian Michaels. Ellen DeGeneres left. Rosie O'Donnell left.
Right. Yeah.
You're a woman who, let's say, enjoys the company of other women. Are you going to stay here in America?
I am staying here in America, Dave. It was a tough decision. The free speech and the right to bear arms, like the whole Constitution, like very scary stuff. But I'm going to try to stick with it. I think the social experiment has been working well for the past several hundred years, and I'm going to ride it out, see where it goes. Personally, even though I am married to a woman, I'm gonna try to stick it out.
Well, good luck with all of that. We got one. I will also grant Rosie one other thing. First off, I like what you said. She's putting her money where her mouth is. We always make fun of these people. They're always going to leave. So that point absolutely stands. Anyway, 2 days ago, the Irish Prime Minister came to the Oval Office, was chatting with Trump with the day that this Rosie O'Donnell story broke. And this is just Trump at his best. Watch.
Are you trying to confirm Mr. President? Ireland is known for very happy, fun-loving people, great attitude, many in this room right now that I've met. Why in the world would you let Rosie O'Donnell move to Ireland? I think she's going to lower your happiness level.
That's true. Thank you. I like that question. Do you know you have Rosie O'Donnell? Do you know who she is? Do you know who she is?
Yeah.
You better off not knowing.
Like, that's just Trump at his best. It's funny. It's also hilarious that the Irish Prime Minister doesn't even know who she is. But don't we, putting aside Rosie leaving and all the hysteria and everything else, we just need more of this, don't we? Like, just some like human moments and less scripted nonsense and the rest of it.
I totally agree. And honestly, the stuff you're showing me this morning is just so absurd that I can't help but laugh about it and find it entertaining. We do need more of this. And I think that was a nice, lighthearted moment that we saw from Trump. And the fact that the Irish Prime Minister had no idea who she was, that's embarrassing. I'm a little embarrassed for her, but, that's what you get when you move to Ireland. I don't know, D, I got nothing. It's so ridiculous.
It's completely ridiculous. And now somehow I'm going to have to segue from a story about a lesbian to boner pills. Fellas, let's be real. Everyone could use an extra hand. But with Blue Chew, you get an extra leg. They're the original service offering chewable tablets to help you with performance, and now they've taken it up a notch. Introducing Blue Chew Max, a powerhouse formula combining the active ingredients of Viagra and Cialis into one chewable tablet. This combo is so strong you might even have to move towns with the amount of noise you'll be making. That means fast-acting, long-lasting support when you need it most. Be ready when the moment's right. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with a licensed medical provider, and once approved, your prescription ships directly to your door discreetly and hassle-free. No waiting rooms, no awkward conversations, no pharmacy lines. And here's the best part. We've got a special deal just for you. Try your first month of Blue Chew free when you use promo code Rubin. Just pay $5 shipping. So if you've been looking to step up your game, head on over to BlueChew.com and use promo code Rubin to get started. More confidence, better moments, delivered straight to you. For more details and important safety information, visit BlueChew.com. All right, now let's do... That was a hell of a segue, wasn't it? Wouldn't you say that was amazing what I just did there?
I thought it was great. I mean, that's why you are the man. You know, you're the OG. Those moments right there.
All right, let's shift, though, and we're going to talk a bit about California and a man who we are both not fans of, Gavin Newsom, who now has a podcast because clearly he's doing such a bang-up job as governor. He has nothing else to do but start a podcast. And he's been putting on these right-wingers. He had Charlie Kirk on. He had Steve Bannon on. He had Michael Savage on. We are in touch with his people. We'll see if it happens. But here he is with Steve Bannon. And it's interesting because he's bringing these people on to basically get smacked around. Take a look.
Well, and I appreciate the notion of agency, that we're not bystanders in the world. It's decisions, not conditions, that determine our fate and future. And that fundamental notion of agency, I think, is important more broadly. And I think that goes to some of the issues around, victimization. And I see a lot of that, respectively, on the right, increasingly, even with Trump often approaching things from that sort of mindset.
What do you mean? What do you mean for Trump?
I think there's sort of the grievance narrative that comes from Trump. This notion there is sort of a victim.
Well, they did try to put him in prison for 300 years, right? They did try to bankrupt him.
Well, that's
if a guy had ever had a set of grievances, they did steal, according to us, and we're firm believers, the 2020 election, which I think worked out better. That providentially that he was able to come back with that gap, because I think you're seeing a much more not just new and improved, but somebody that's much more in command of these decisions and really stepping up in a way that we could have never done before.
All right, so there's a lot with this guy. First off, the body language, I don't know what's going on. Everything about him is just so freaking fake. But do you give him some credit here for sitting down with these people and airing these things where he does not come off looking good? I mean, I think you can objectively say that. And he's even getting hit by the left-wing media for sitting down with right-wing people. So he's got right-wing people on, they're smacking him this way, and then the left-wing media is smacking him this way for sitting down with those people.
You know what, Dave? I actually don't find this funny or entertaining at all. I find it alarming. And here's why. Because I think he's doing what the Democrats actually need to be doing and aren't. And I'll give you an example. Mm-hmm. First of all, he's sitting down with the other side. The left notoriously does not do that. They refuse to engage in conversation. Even if you look at RFK, which is right in my wheelhouse, Kamala wouldn't even sit down with him.
Yep.
So
Jake Tapper banned him from his show.
Perfect example. Then, in addition to that, he's stepping away from some of this crazy woke ideology on the left and even admitted that it's unfair to have biological males in sports alongside biological females, which is something I've said, listen, if you want to run for president as a Democrat in the next election for 28, you're going to need to call out this craziness and take the side of 80% of the country on these social issues. He's doing that. Why do I find this alarming? Because this man is a sociopath. He has one North Star, and it's power. Yeah. As he sits here and does show after show after show, using Republicans, because that's exactly what he's doing, to try to make himself look more moderate, having them ultimately platform him, because we're talking about him right now. I can tell you that Pacific Coast Highway is still in absolute shambles. And 6 weeks later, not one thing has been cleaned up. And in fact, my kids are not in school today still because of the state of Pacific Coast Highway, because it sprinkled yesterday. And he does podcast after podcast after podcast. So this concerns me. And I actually wish Republicans wouldn't go on his show because it gives him a huge audience.
You know, it's so interesting to hear you say that because you are, I think, on that short list of people that you're always willing to talk to anybody. You had my former boss, Cenk, who I think is one of the worst people on the internet, on your show a couple of weeks ago. And you did a nice job with him and you treat him with respect and all of that stuff. So you're not somebody that shies away from any of this.
Opposite.
I agree with you.
With the Tate brothers, Dave. And I that's how much I do not like the Tate brothers, and I would sit with them in a heartbeat and have a conversation. But this is a different animal because if this man actually succeeds in becoming president, you and I might be moving to Ireland, or we can pick another place. But I genuinely am concerned because we've seen what he's done with California, and this is not hyperbole.
I cannot live in the same country as Rosie O'Donnell at this point. I'd be going to where are we going to go, guys? Where do you guys want to go? I need a little Bora Bora. I always go back to Bora Bora. Joking aside, I really do agree with you because I've said to my guys, and I've said it on the show, if they allow me on the show with him, and we are talking to his people, I'm going to make a point of saying I am not here for your reclamation project. Like, I'm here to destroy you because you deserve to be destroyed. So even though these guys are smacking him down in a weird way, they're offering him that handout. And you're right, a handout in a certain sense can work. But when you're the level that he's at, that's the problem. Anyway, let's just show one other clip from the show because, again, he's bringing on people who are beating him senseless. And, you know, his fake teeth and slicked hair aside, I think people see through it. Take a look.
Why does it take so many months or days to count the ballots in California? A month.
Legit.
India, 1 day to count 640 million votes. Germany, 8 hours to count 50 million votes. Yep. Argentina, 6 hours to count 27 million votes. California, 4 weeks to count 16 million votes.
It's ridiculous.
Why?
It's ridiculous. It's because and by the way, we've been having this conversation enough. And first of all, we believe that every vote counts. So we want to make sure every vote is counted because of the provisional ballots, the fact we do all mail-in ballots, the fact that we have such huge investments in making sure that we increase that outreach. We want to make sure, again, every vote counts. But you're right.
I'm right about something?
Absolutely. The right is right, and you are right to criticize the extended period.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Gav, do you know who the governor is?
He doesn't take responsibility for anything, though, Dave. He never has. So again, he's like, isn't this crazy? These are the things on the left you don't like that I'm going to stop. And I just personally, we've seen this guy come out of these conversations, no matter how beaten up he gets, and he manages to parlay it into greater popularity points. We've seen him in these conversations with Hannity previously. We've now seen him on his own podcast, and I just think it's dangerous. I think this is going to win him a ton of brownie points. I think the goal for him is to say to the independents, because he knows where these elections are now won, like, listen, I'm willing to sit down with the other side. Look how moderate I am. I'm willing to call balls and strikes. I mean, this is the strategy that it will take for a Democrat to rise. And he's bucking his own party, which is what needs to be done. If he was actually a decent governor, I would see this as hopeful, because we do need more than one party, obviously. But I think he is a horrendous governor and a frightful human being.
But part of it with Newsom is, you're right, he has reversed, at least temporarily, on some of this woke stuff. But I think it's important that we don't forget that he didn't sign things like this just 2 years ago. This is California Bill 665. And let me read the text for you quickly. To the members of the California State Assembly, I am signing Assembly Bill 665, which will allow youth 12 years of age or older to consent to mental health care services, whether covered by Medi-Cal or private health plans. Youth 12 Ages 12 and older with private health insurance already have the right to consent to their own mental health services, but youth with Medi-Cal coverage do not. This bill extends that right so minors in Medi-Cal may also consent to their mental health care services. This bill eliminates an eligibility disparity which places lower income youth who do not have private health insurance at a disadvantage, improving access to life-saving care for young people. Sincerely, Gavin Newsom. So look, he might have said that thing about boys and girls sports, but what that bill is about a 12-year-old, in this case, poor 12-year-old kid whose mind has been muddled in a California state school transitioning. That is the only thing this thing is about. It's unbelievably disgusting.
See, I was wondering about that because I was listening for that. Like, does it
consent
to gender affirming care? I wasn't sure if it was like, I'm feeling suicidal, I'm just disturbed teen, I'm bullied in school, and therefore I need mental help. But if it is in fact about gender affirming care,
it's that you don't need. Of course, it is.
Does this also pertain to does this mean also that parents don't need to know this is going on? I couldn't really take that away from whatever the heck you just read.
Well, the language is slightly vague, except it says if you're 12, you can consent to mental health services. So if you're consenting, your parents don't have to consent for you. I mean, my guess is some of this will be tied up in the courts, but I think it's fairly obvious what he's doing here. And maybe he signed that because he suddenly realized, oh, the left is starting to realize that I'm hanging out with all these righties. But that's the hell that he's created for himself, I suppose.
Well, one of the things that this guy loves to do, without me fully understanding what this means and taking your word for it, obviously, one of the things that he loves to do is not to right a wrong, but double down on it. So, for example, one of the things that sent me fleeing from California as my domiciled state, as a resident of California, was a bill that had to do with 14-year-olds having sex with people up to 10 years older than them. So a 14-year-old girl can have sex with a 24-year-old man, and that 24-year-old doesn't necessarily need to be labeled as a sex offender. Now, this was unfair to the gays, so they ended up amending this so that a 24-year-old man can have sex with a 14-year-old boy and now not be forced to register as a sex offender. And
it's psychotic.
It's psychotic. Thank you. It's psychotic. And this is what I mean. He is the absolute worst. He's the worst.
I always mention that Jordan Peterson always, for years, was asking the question to Democrats and people on the left, when does the left go too far? And he could never get someone to answer him. And that's your point. They never look at the stop sign that we're progressing.
Nope.
Big ditch over there.
They keep digging. That's what they keep doing. They never course correct. But you see him trying to course correct. And that's the thing. That's what we're all waiting for, right? Those of us who were on the left, then we're center, now we're center right. We keep thinking at some point the Democrats are going to reclaim their sanity and denounce some of this madness. And he's the only one doing it in little ways, like we've seen on the podcast with the transgender athlete debate. But I just don't personally, like I said, it alarms me because this guy, this is all manipulation. All he cares about is power and money. He actually has zero interest in improving the lives of Californians that live under his governance. Zero.
Well, Jillian, even though as of, I think, Gavin Newsom's podcast, there are now more podcasts than people on planet Earth, Michelle Obama has also decided to become a podcast host because apparently everybody wants to be us. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Guys, I started this show to uncover what's really going on in the world. But now that Trump is officially back in office, we can expect more agenda-driven narratives and outright manipulation from the mainstream media. That's why I've partnered with Ground News. Unlike other platforms, Ground News doesn't publish stories or push narratives. Instead, it's an independent app and website that aggregates every source on a story so you can compare coverage and see through the media spin. It's easy to use. Swipe through the coverage tag to show whether it's driven by liberal corporations corporations or independent conservative voices. My favorite feature is their blind spot feed, which highlights important stories the left and right aren't covering. It's a game changer for building trust and transparency in the media. I use Ground News to ensure that I'm providing my viewers with reliable, unbiased information, and now you can too. For a limited time, get their unlimited access Vantage plan for nearly 40% off. Just go to ground.news/Rubin or scan the QR code to subscribe. Supporting Ground News doesn't just give you the tools to think freely, it also supports independent voices like mine. Ground.news/Rubin. Get 40% off today. All right, everyone and their sister has a podcast now. Michelle Obama is the newest superstar. And, well, take a look. Here's her YouTube channel. And she's got a couple shows up there. She's got almost 17,000 subscribers. You know, everybody starts somewhere. That's okay. Now, interestingly, we're going to show you some of the comments on the channel. And, well, take a look.
See somebody of note with a platform who, you know, by every measure looks successful. The first question is how? I think this podcast, first and foremost, gives us an opportunity to hear from folks. You know, we're going to be taking, you know, questions from listeners who are going through some things and just need a little advice. They want to hear from people in conversations, and folks are looking for a place where they can just they can hear stories.
Come back to me, Connor. That's not. I mean, is this another reason they don't like free speech? Like, it's, you know. Did you see the one that said Joan Rivers was right? Because, you know, Joan Rivers 10 years ago was the first one to say that Michelle Obama is a man.
Oh gosh. Okay. So many things. First of all, I refuse to sink to this Bill Burr level. So I would like to address specifically the podcast,
yes,
which was horribly boring. And I listened to it because you put it on my list of topics today. So I blame you for wasting over an hour of my life. I would also like for you to know.
That's what most of my audience says.
And platitudes and stories about being made to clean the house as a kid. It was awful, Dave. So thanks for that. This is her third podcast, though. Do you know that?
She's killing it. Third?
I know. I mean her third podcast, not like the third show of this incarnation.
Oh, that's what I thought it was.
No. Are you okay? She had a podcast in 2020 through Spotify that didn't work. And then she had another one in 2022 called what was it called? The Light Podcast. So this is the third show, not the third podcast of this incarnation of the show. So I'm just like, that's kind of embarrassing. I mean, this is a former first lady who was extremely popular. And much like you were a fan of Rosie O'Donnell, I was actually previously a fan of Michelle Obama. So I'm disappointed to see her fall so far from grace in that it was utterly torturous to listen to. And again, did I mention I blame you for that?
Jillian, this has been a bizarre show. We've shown terrible people doing things that they're not good at and fleeing the country. Is this how we end a Friday and roll people into the weekend?
For sure. I think it was fun and entertaining. And listen, it could be way worse. It could have been like death and destruction and geopolitics and tariffs, and that stuff's all kind of a bummer. So this was, Exactly. I mean, I would definitely leave with the caveat that you tell people not to bother watching the Michelle Obama show. And it's since you're pointing out those comments, because again, as I mention that you killed an hour of my life as I listened to that.
Jillian, tell me one thing, as the fitness guru that you are. We didn't focus on that today. Tell me one thing I should eat this weekend and one thing I should not eat this weekend. And you can't say seed oils. We know it about seed oils already.
Oh my gosh, that's actually more of a nuanced conversation, Dee. The truth about seed oils is that it's how they're here. I'll give you a little piece of advice.
Yes.
If you were to speak to many different PhDs in nutrition science, there really isn't any, people are going to be so mad, substantive evidence that seed oils unto themselves are the devil. It's not about that. It's about how they're processed.
Right.
So it's the chemicals they use to bleach them and deodorize them. that really brings me to the things you shouldn't eat. I don't want to pick one. Don't eat stuff that isn't food, if I could give you one rule. And it's chemicals like that. Fake color, fake freaking sugar, fake fat, fake flavors, all of that stuff. And then, of course, always eat your vegetables. That's great advice. My mom, circa 1984. Eat your vegetables, Dave.
As you know, I eat a lot of steak. I will put some broccoli on the side for Jillian Michaels.
Perfect.
Jillian, thank you for your time as always. Have a wonderful weekend, and I hope to see you in the free state of Florida soon.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Dee. I appreciate it. And even though you stole an hour.
Yeah, sorry about making you watch stuff, but anyway, it was fun. Ciao.